8. It's Wednesday, the 31st of July. Goodness me, is July almost over already? It's been lovely sunny weather in many parts of the country. I know you're getting downpours, certainly in North Yorkshire and Wales yesterday had an amber warning. But imagine when the sun comes out, you have a disease that means you can't actually go out in the sunshine. That's what happens to people who suffer from a thing called Lyme disease, and cases of this have increased rapidly in the UK and maybe 3 times more common than the current annual estimate. This is from a study of GP records. Lyme disease was found in every single region of the UK, with Scotland having the highest number of cases, followed by the southwest and south of England. It is given to people through tick bites. Researchers from the UK and Germany looked at a primary care database holding anonymised records of almost 8.5 million people registered with GP practices between 2001 and 2012, about 8% of the population. They found the annual total number of cases recorded increased almost tenfold over that period. Let's speak to Sally Jane Cutler, who is a professor in medical microbiology. Could you first of all tell us a little bit more about this disease, Sally, and how you get it?
Good morning.
Morning.
Yes, as you've actually said, the disease is transmitted by an arthropod, which is a tick that you find in the countryside. So if you're going out for a nice picnic or going to the woods or out walking your dogs, anything like that, the ticks will be in the undergrowth, and they're active usually during the warmer times of year, so for about Easter right through to autumn. And they can actually attach themselves to you for sometimes up to 2 weeks, and they feed on blood. And so you quite often will get used to seeing them attached to your pet dog and things like that, but they will also feed from people. And they can transmit this bacterial infection into you, and that's what actually causes Lyme disease, this bacteria that is transmitted by the tick. And the disease itself, it can cause a number of different clinical signs. It can cause skin rashes, it can cause neurological problems, it can cause problems with your heart, and also problems with your joints. And it can actually last for quite a number of years. There have been cases that have been diagnosed 10 years after they've been exposed to being bitten by a tick. So it can be quite a chronic, long-lasting infection if it's not adequately treated.
Why do you think it's becoming more common?
It's probably more an increase in public awareness. I think the disease has been with us for many, many years. But it was only actually officially diagnosed in the late 1970s as a syndrome, and that's where it got its name, Lyme disease, actually after a cluster of cases that was detected in America in a small town called Lyme in Connecticut. And so we now know a lot more about the full spectrum of what this disease can actually include. And we're getting better at looking for it, we're getting better at diagnosing it, and this is why we're seeing an increase in cases. But it's not all bad news in the fact that actually in the UK we do seem to have less cases than in Europe. If you look at the infection rate of this bacteria in the ticks, again, you'll find less of that in the ticks in the UK compared to Europe, but also you'll find less clinical cases. So it's not all a bad picture.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and the good news also is that if it's diagnosed appropriately, it can be treated relatively straightforward with antibiotics such as doxycycline.
Right.
So the GPs, if they can diagnose it effectively, will actually be able to treat and manage the infection.
Excellent. Some good news. Thank you, Sally. Sally Jane Cutler, who's a professor in medical microbiology. Mark has called in from Ross-on-Wye. You want to talk about Lyme disease. What do you want to say, Mark?
Morning, mate. Yeah, just a few things, actually. I was just looking at an article literally a few days ago about the US Defense Department actually did research in weaponising ticks, which spread Lyme disease.
Are you serious?
Yeah, seriously. They
weaponising ticks?
Yeah, basically spreading bacteriological warfare via ticks or getting ticks to transmit the diseases. Which was quite scary.
So they decided not to go ahead with it then, did they?
Yeah. Well, I've come across them quite a lot. I do quite a lot of wildlife management.
Right.
And when you're dealing with animals, these animals are going through the undergrowth. Even your regular household dog. I went on holiday in the summertime, and my dog went through long grass, and it picked up about 20 ticks. Every time we took it in, it was picking up ticks. We took it down there before, never had one.
Wow.
But this year, there seems to be a lot more around. I've been bitten, and when you get bit, it can come up if you've got possible Lyme disease
like
symptoms.
a rash,
it can come up like a bullet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a kind of circle around the tick bite. So people can get it, and dogs can get it. So I would recommend that if your dog's had a lot of ticks on it, get it checked by the vet. If you a bullet mark come up, go to the doctor and get it checked.
All right, thank you very much indeed, Mark. That's a phrase I never thought I would ever hear myself saying. Beware of weaponised ticks.